Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello there, and welcome to our Film and TV Review End of Year special. So it's been quite an interesting year, 2023. I'm joined by usual regular hosts, James, Richard, and Alfonso today, and we're going to be just highlighting what caught our attention this year, both on TV and film. So we'll just kick off then. Alfonso, hi Alfonso.
Hey.
So it's been quite an interesting year today. So what caught your eye, both the highlights and the lowlights across film and TV?
Well, I think if we talk about cinema going this year, I think we have to talk about the big event of the year, which has been Oppenheimer. I mean Barbieheimer, or well, I saw both. I like both, and I did it in separate days because I thought it was too much to just do a double feature. But I liked Oppenheimer quite a bit. I thought it was one of the best Nolan movies, and just sprawling and like two movies into one, and both interesting, good editing. I wasn't bored in the 3 hours that it lasted, and it was really good. But I wanted to mention mostly Barbie, because it could have been such a mess or such a just publicity for Mattel, and it turned out to be something really special. And I think the audience kind of responded to it, the box office. I thought Greta Gerwig really did something special, yeah. And she took a toy and made it a whole existential journey about this toy who wants to know or connects with a human and becomes more and more human as the movie progresses. And it also mixes gender discussion very playfully. It was all the time, it was entertaining, while at the same time it made you think. It could go from the most superfluous to the most thoughtful in a second, and just treat it all as if it was a joke. And in the end, it got really emotional. It has a killer soundtrack also. It was not only a film, but also a soundtrack that nominated the year. and it will probably have at least 2 songs. I think the most you can have is 2 songs, so it will have. I think it will have 2 songs nominated for the Oscars. Of course, the Billie Eilish one, and maybe the Dua Lipa one, or the Ryan Gosling I Am Ken.
Yes.
I'm just Ken.
I think I found this. I mean, I went in London when we were watching it. It was a packed audience, which I hadn't seen for at least 2 or 3 years, and even before COVID. I mean, these really event films and people dressing up and all that. It was just good to see that. But that film in itself, I thought it was as much a Ken film as it was a Barbie film. That's Ryan Gosling. It was almost like his journey, as in a repressed accessory to Barbie, then finding his own identity. So that it was quite, it wasn't just for those who hadn't seen it, it's just not just a Barbie movie. It's actually more about emancipation, if you want to put that into
Yeah.
it. But,
they always, when you talk about it was very, very intelligent from Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach when they did the script to give weight to Ken, because it's like it's impossible. If you want to talk about gender, it's impossible to just talk about one of them, and it's a smart play for audiences, especially if you go on a date or if you want to attract some male audience to a Barbie movie, to feature the male perspective in a sense. I mean, it's all kind of like because Ken doesn't go into the journey that Barbie goes into, so he doesn't kind of. I mean, at the end he has kind of a realization of some sort, but it's not. He's more like the comic relief most of the movie, but a brilliant comic relief. I mean, I was laughing when he discovers the real world and how men are in the real world, the situation as opposed to his situation in Barbie Land. It was so funny, and it was a very, very like entertaining way to talk about gender roles and dynamics.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts from Richard or James on that?
Well, absolutely agree with anything Alfonso has said. And yeah, I think the smartest thing that movie has done is indeed not forgetting the the male audience, let's say, because that could have been actually a huge mistake. Nowadays, try to make a movie for women, etc. But to show there's actually a message at the end, to show actually that the relationship is 2 people and not only one, and actually that you have to understand actually both where they're coming from, etc. I thought it was smart. I wasn't excited as much as other people about this movie before and after watching it, to be honest. I think it's just a fine line between trying to be taken seriously and trying to not be taken seriously. I don't know how to explain that, but it feels sometimes like a parody, like a pastiche of something else. Sometimes he wants to be extremely serious and he does it very well. But in my opinion, yeah, sometimes it kind of loses me by trying to raise important issues and trying to hide these things behind a wall of music and almost Bollywood performances, etc. So I don't know. It wasn't meant for me, maybe, but I can see the relevance of the movie anyway. So yeah.
Thanks. Okay, James, if you want to.
Yeah. So I mean, I really loved it. It's probably it's sort of in my top 5, I think, of the year. I actually feel slightly differently to Richard, that I come out of it thinking, I think we said, oh, it's okay, but it's not a home run or something. You said it was, and I sort of agree with that. But when I rewatched it, I think I liked it even more. Actually, I think there's a lot of big jokes in there, and there's a lot of smaller, more nuanced jokes. And actually, sometimes on the initial showing, I missed that nuance joke in the middle, or I was laughing so hard at the previous joke that it sort of overlapped. So I think it's definitely one of the best scripts of the year. I think, as well as Barbie and Ken, I think this film is almost in a way America Ferrera's
Yeah.
film, just as
Yeah.
much as it is Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. And I'd really like to sort of see her get some recognition, maybe for supporting actress at next year's Oscars. Um, it was just a massive event as well, and I think it is one of those films that, I mean, we should always just enjoy a film for what it is and our personal relationship to it. But it is great when you've got those things that really resonate with an audience. You know, much as I love the creator, and I think Richard's going to talk about that later, I was kind of a little bit bummed by the sort of response to it that was quite muted, or just the lack of any response, not even a bad response. So it's really good to see something like this that just goes massive. I mean, to the point that I was a bit annoyed because a couple of weeks later I wanted to go and see other films at the cinema other than Barbie and Oppenheimer again. Um, and the queues were just something that I'd never seen since like the opening weekend of Endgame. Like, but it stayed as well. It really like stayed for about a month before it died down. And I forgot about the dressing up thing, that you turned up and people were in pink. I genuinely accidentally went to watch it in a pink t-shirt, and I was like, "Hey, cool! I've turned up and I've kind of dressed up for this as part of the thing." I think it would be. I've got to say, in terms of the soundtrack, the Dua Lipa song is a banger, but I think it would be really good to see "I'm Just Ken" and "What Was I Made For" by Billie Eilish nominated, because I think they really tap into the themes of the song, particularly the Billie Eilish one in a way, because when I heard that prior to seeing the film, I was like, yeah, this is a good song. But when it comes in right at the end of the film, you go, oh, this is perfect. It feels like it's really written for that song, not just shoed in. Um, Production design is fantastic as well. It's just a very funny film. Really taken back by how on the nose some of the sort of jokes are at Mattel's expense as well. And apparently, the story goes that they had a lot of notes and a lot of questions for Greta Gerwig, but they didn't. They never sort of overrode her and said, "No, you can't do that. You can't put it in." But they just queried stuff. And I can't think it might have been on this chat. I was speaking to someone. They said, actually, in a way, maybe they've made Barbie sort of relevant again for a new generation, because there's maybe a feeling that it's sort of an old property, but I think it's it's reinvigorated that. But I think as well, it's a film that's sort of about nostalgia and celebrating it, but it's also looking at the weirdness of nostalgia, which I think is a very apt thing. I think that's really where we're at as like a culture, you know, in the West at the moment, where we've got all these really big nostalgic things. And I love a bit of nostalgia, but I also think sometimes it's a bit weird. But yeah, I thought it was a really fun, playful sort of film. And the joke, we won't ruin the joke, but the joke that you mentioned, Richard, which is a voiceover by Helen Mirren, it's hilarious. It's definitely one of the biggest laughs in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really good sort of playful film, I think.
Well, yeah, I think I agree. That was probably one of the event cinema experiences of the year.
Did we just lose
Jason's
him?
frozen? So I don't know if we're going to...
Did we just lose him?
Or he's really thinking about Barbie.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Oh, there he
Oppenheimer.
is. He's back.
We are losing you, Jason. We lost you. Now you got back. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it was okay. So, of course, yeah. Well, yes, obviously, Barbie was took the audiences by storm, but it was shared by on an opening weekend with something. Of course, Christopher Nolan's great latest entry, which was Oppenheimer. So again, it was just almost diametrically opposed, but I think both did really well on the back of that. Alfonso, of course, you watched Oppenheimer, as you mentioned. So what was your view of that? And did it really make critics were obviously applauding it, but what did you think? Was it really worthy of the praise?
Yeah, I think it is very good. I mean, it is, without going into the morals of the story or the character, I think it is a very good, well-edited film, so that you are always into the story. It moves the pace is fast. The facts are interesting. It's full of stars. The music is relentless. Take it or leave it. The sound as well. That is Nolan, and the part of the trial was also. I was all the time entertained, interested in what it was happening, and I thought it had a good conclusion. So yeah, it was a good movie overall. Yeah.
I thought it was a good 2-hour movie. Unfortunately, we did have this third hour to it, which was a courtroom drama, which I felt didn't quite match up to the high stakes drama as compared to the initial 2 hours, which is really kind of a story of a race against the opposing nations in actually creating an atomic weapon, certainly in World War II. So it didn't really then to go to segue into this courtroom drama, which has been interesting in itself, but it kind of felt like, well, it's not really. This is more a vindication or kind of like a revenge on Oppenheimer, when all egos and their place in the hierarchy of actually the fallout, pardon the pun, on politically and academically around this project. So I felt it would have been served then better as maybe a drama series then, really, if that's the format. I mean, really, 2 hours it is magnificent. Yes, the music is relentless, but I guess that's his style, really. But I think it really did well in this story. But great performance by a central performance. But Robert Downey Jr. also does a lot of heavy lifting in the third part. But again, yeah, it's worthy of the praise. But I do feel it was a good 2-hour movie. But unfortunately, there was this third act which didn't quite do it for me. But
actually, I think that Robert Downey Jr. is the problem with this movie. Actually.
Oh, okay. What did you think, Richard?
No,
Robert.
That answers your first complaint. Let's say, Jason. What I mean is that I believe that actually that if you remove completely his character from the movie, the movie would have been better.
Yeah.
It would have been shorter.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that actually it would have been super useful in this movie, to be honest. We could have followed actually the journey of Oppenheimer before and after the test, before, after Manhattan Project. We could have seen him being persecuted, let's say, or etc. But I'm not sure that we really needed actually the point of view of what was his name, Strauss, isn't it? So yeah, I don't think it's not against Robert Downey Jr. performance, but he did a great job, Downey Jr. But it's just his character I wasn't really a fan of.
I was.
Maybe it would have solved the problem of the length of the movie. But
yeah, if you wanna take out that part of the story, that's
that would have a lot. Yeah, that would have a lot. But yeah, but I'm don't know, but it's in like 2 months from now. But it would be surprising for me if Cillian Murphy didn't win the Oscar.
I don't know, because it's a kind of like understated, kind of not very showy performance.
Yeah, but look at his filmography. I mean, he's been around in this business for a very long time, so it will make sense, because sometimes the Academy wants to reward more of a career than a performance. I don't know.
If you see how showy he can be in other roles, you kind of appreciate the restraint in Oppenheimer, because he can be the opposite.
Yeah.
But just by that performance, I think I would say that, for example, Bradley Cooper has a much more showier role in Maestro. Or, but thinking about the career, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers could be another good career choice, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.
Okay. James, what did you, as the final verdict, as it's a split jury, I would say, what did you think?
All opinions are valid. I will say though, like when you were saying, "Oh, let's all have different opinions," you're making it quite easy for me because I think I disagree with everybody on this. And I think in terms of the Oscars, I don't want to talk too much about that because I suppose we'll do that nearer the time. But I think it would be quite good if they probably recognise Barbie and Oppenheimer if they want to be seen as like a big awards ceremony where people have heard of the films. Because I think they went through a few years of having films that nobody had heard of. I think it would be good if Barbie and Oppenheimer were quite well rewarded or awarded, like they did with Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. I've tried this year not to complain too much about the length of films. I know you could probably play me back bits of the podcast when that's all I'm talking about. But I think if a film is good, then it's good, and you don't mind how long it carries on. So usually when people complain about the length, sometimes it's because they feel the film isn't very good, which is fine, you know. But I think actually the third hour is the best hour of this. So I think that the start of the third hour is when you get the Trinity test, which is superb. And I really like the courtroom stuff. The sort of and Nolan does describe this as a heist movie and a courtroom drama, apparently. But I think that point of where he's been in the Communist Party, where he's had communist sort of leanings and sympathies, and that was fine apparently a few years ago, but now the climate has changed and they don't like that, or they're using that against him. I think you can see parallels with what happens now sometimes when, I don't know what the term is, but when people dig around for things that people have posted on social media 15 years ago and they go, it doesn't quite fit what we would talk about now, or what we would say is acceptable to joke about now. You can sort of see parallels with that. I really like Robert Downey Jr.'s performance in this. I think Matt Damon, though, is really good. I think either of those would have a good chance of being nominated for supporting actor. I know they don't generally like to nominate actors against each other in that category, but I really like it. I think it's his best. I was going to say it's his best performance post Iron Man, but apart from Doolittle, it's probably his only performance post Iron Man, isn't it? So I love you, Robert, but you know,
Good achievement.
But I sort of like that. I think Cillian Murphy is fantastic. I mean, he's on screen a lot. When I think about this movie, I kind of think about Robert Downey Jr. in black and white and it being very talky. But when I watched the trailer again the other night, so just sort of refreshing my memory, it's such a visual film. There's such brilliant visuals in it. And seeing it at the cinema, I think you do get something from it. And the sound design is fantastic. The fact that when the decision that they make when the Trinity bomb goes off and what they do with the sound at that point, I think is really good. It's not in some ways it's not perfect, but I think in a year where we've been worried about AI and things, I've kind of liked that imperfection in films sometimes, that it feels like it's made by a human being with a particular sort of framing and a particular thing that they're interested in. Someone did say that there was a lot of women that worked on this project, and that isn't really reflected in the film. There is a bit where Emily Blunt approaches Cillian Murphy's Robert Oppenheimer at a party and basically says, "Oh, could you explain quantum physics for me? Because it hurts my poor little brain." And I did kind of laugh at that. Like, that feels like a little bit clumsy or a little bit of an oversight. But I really, I really enjoyed it. And I think what you said, Jason, about them being that and Barbie being completely opposed films, sort of completely different films, really. And to both be released on the same weekend seemed good. And I think it is Nolan's best film since Inception as well. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For the
I
record,
think it was-
if I may say something actually about that, I think that if any studio in the future wants to try again to have two studios want to try to have two movies released at the same time, they definitely need to be very different from one another. Because I'm thinking that's the reason why it worked, I think. If it was like two family movies or two women girly movies, etc., or two drama about historical figures, I don't think it would have worked, to be honest.
Well, I think it actually just shows that there's quite an appetite for a good film, good writing, good word of mouth on that, and that's what seems to drive audiences and pass it through the finishing line in box office terms. But it's great. You can show the audiences are out there, and depending on, even though as diverse, more adult oriented material and more kind of like more blockbuster friendly material and IP friendly. So, but it was good. It wasn't seen as competition, but they come embrace each other as in to celebrate, going and a lot of crossing of audiences as well. So it was one of those events that happened, and everyone kind of won in the end, kind of for both audiences and filmmakers. But quite a highlight. Alfonso, so you also did pick another highlight from your list that you submitted was we'll talk about TV in shortly, but you did mention Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that was quite a
Yeah.
that was one of your highlights, and you did put it as
Yeah, because I think it's had one of the things that are important in these Marvel films is a good baddie, a good bad guy. I mean, not a good in a moral sense, but just a well realized and interesting to follow bad guy. And I thought the bad guy of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and all that was revolving around that guy was pretty good. Also the family of the animals that were what's the name of the raccoon?
Rocket
Rocket.
Rocket.
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper, yeah. Well, Bradley Cooper came from Rocket. Those were really, it made me feel feelings during those scenes of the animal characters. And also the kind of weirdness that surrounds this franchise, which has these little weird touches all around. It made it feel less plasticky, less franchisey, less like the things that make some Marvel films more boring to me.
Yeah.
James Gunn did it more, created characters that were feeling more, that were more alive, that had inner worlds more, and also it made the contrast with the heroes feel more interesting overall, so I could follow better their adventures when there were these weird things and slayed animals and a guy that was real bad but also had a conflict inside and had this relationship with Rocket throughout the flashbacks. I don't know. It made for a good drama, not only a good action film, and the whole, and also the action sequences were really good, and the world, the world that was the different space planets that were shown. So it was a whole lot of things that made a movie feel like something special in Marvel, which doesn't happen a lot these days. And when something is special in Marvel, is like a real nice film because it has a lot of a good budget and lots of imagineering and lots of characters too. So it was a film that I really enjoyed.
I think it's a fun farewell from James Gunn to the Marvel cinematic universe. James, Richard, you concur? Is it?
Yeah,
ending?
I 100% concur with anything Alfonso said. I can sum it up going very quick by saying just that in a way, why this movie in the MCU phase 5, 6, or whatever works and not the other ones is because I actually cared about what's happening on screen. That's how I sum it up. I actually care about these characters. I actually care about the plot. I actually care about what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes. And I couldn't care less about a lot of things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe this year and last year. In my lowlights, I mentioned Ant-Man, which was like the opposite of Guardian Galaxy on so many ways. There's also some TV shows that were actually terrible. So yeah, James Gunn did with this trilogy what a lot of directors and producers in Marvel seems to I was about to say cannot do, but also seem to have forgotten how to do with things, to be honest. Which is focusing on the characters and understand what character developments mean, and also like Alfonso was saying, having believable villain, having believable stakes, and accepting actually that there is an end to anything. And I think these characters have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And although there is an unnecessary post-credit scene, as usual in this movie, I think the journey of all the main characters has come to an end, and it's the proper end. It's very well done. I was like, Alfonso was getting sometimes emotional about the story of the flashback of Rocket Raccoon, but also getting emotional by the ends because it's like farewells by most of them. And I think it's crazy because I'm talking like it's something extraordinary to know how to write character developments nowadays, but it shouldn't be something extraordinary. It should be like a no-brainer. It should be a normal job for any writer or director. But that's the current state of the Marvel Disney stuff, is that when someone does a normal good job, we should actually point it out and celebrate it. But yeah, I hope that some of the people will follow James Gunn example, but I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree. It was it's a good in its kind of, almost in its standalone way, which these films work best as. But I was glad that this was the last one. I actually did feel that it was time to put these characters to bed, and it was almost that was part of the. It felt like a good farewell, and it should be, and it should stay like that, if only. But we will see. But I guess we will stick a bit to those other types that you mentioned, as we're in the Marvel universe. I do agree with you. Ant-Man, definitely a low light. I think it just shows how bloated sometimes these projects are, and a bit directionless. I'll mention Marvels, which came out later in the year, which was actually not a bad film, but it seems that a tainted name almost, Marvel, or people are just tired of that whole Marvel Cinematic Universe as of late. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year with the MCU output. I know there's not much coming out, but still it'll be interesting to see what they do with that IP. Right. Francis, you did mention some TV highlights as well. You did mention The Last of Us. Now, that was quite a big event, the start.
It was. I think it was the biggest event TV-wise of the year. Yes. That and the end of Succession, maybe?
Yes.
So the Last of Us had everyone commenting on it. It was that well thought out drama, which also had great action and horror. It had a little bit for everyone, and it didn't worry about just spending one episode with a story of two gay men in the apocalypse, for example. It was, it had its own pace. Like, HBO did let the showrunner very much creative freedom, and they trusted him, and it came out very well. I mean, it was fulfilling from a drama standpoint and from also the action. You were for that reason you weren't waiting for the action or waiting for the drama. You just took it as it came, and in the end you were rewarded the whole time because it kind of felt real. The relationships between these characters and this kind of hopeless world where they lived in, and they are trying to find a solution for this. And it took you to another world full of fungus or fungi or whatever it's the plural of that thing. And I'm waiting for like the second game and the second season.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting. Yes, I think definitely it was a series where it actually broke through to having a great translation from the narrative in that, which was one of those best standout games. And because you've got the actual creative team and writer involved from the game in the actual series, which helped it a lot and actually just brought out all the strengths of that narrative. It's a kind of narrative, strongly narrative strong game, The Last of Us. So, Richard, you put that as your highlight also. I think The Last of Us. Again, it was definitely one of those events for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think in the previous chat that we had, we talked about video game adaptations, and I think actually that The Last of Us is kind of it will be remembered, in my opinion, as maybe a turning point in that regards. Is that actually that you can do video game adaptations in a good way. Well, obviously the source material was already very good. It was a very good game, but looked already very cinematic, if I can use that word. It was almost like a big movie that you were actually controlling the main character. But yeah, if you use money in a very wise way, and if you had the right person behind and in front of the camera, you can do great stuff with video game adaptations. And Last of Us is a great example. I'm not going to repeat what Afonso was saying, but yes, it's true that although it was kind of a mini series of 6 or 8 episodes, they spend time to go first of all to focus on the main characters, but also to develop some supporting characters. Yes, he mentioned obviously an episode about the relationship of two guys, and that was amazing. But also even the short character development of his lady friend, who I forgot the actress name now, who died. Sorry, spoiler alert. But she was in Fringe, and I loved Fringe, but I can't remember the name of the actress. But anyway,
no, I can't right now.
It's all right. But I mean, it's a very well done thing. I mean, I was a bit pessimistic when this project was announced, not because it was video game adaptation, but because I was thinking perhaps we have too many zombies on screen. The Walking Dead was ending after 11 years. We had 2 or 3 spin-offs of this thing, or even 4 spin-offs. I was thinking, is it that too much? But apparently people were fine with it.
And also, I wanted just to say that Bella Ramsey is such a good actress.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
she's great she was in a thing called Time this year as well with Jodie Whittaker, and that was really good, where she plays like a convict. Yeah,
I think
excellent actress.
In Game of Thrones, she must have like perhaps, I don't know, all together 30 minutes on screen on all seasons, and every time she's on screen, she's killing it. So yeah, a good thing for HBO to get this woman actually work for them, because she's
Yeah,
gonna be great in the next 10 years, to be honest.
they got critics because they wanted the look of the game, and Bella Ramsey doesn't have the look of the actress. I mean, the character in the game, but you know, they got the better actress, and
Yeah.
they were rewarded for it.
100%.
Well, that was one of the video game adaptations that came out this year on the screen, but there was another one that actually did quite well on the big screen, and that would be Super Mario. James, you picked that as a highlight of one of the years, certainly Super Mario. What did you think?
Did you put it as
Yes,
highlight?
I'm going to leave the group now. I'm going to leave
Seriously?
the chat since people are saying that I like this film.
And
Look,
is it
I'm a
seriously?
child.
Is it seriously in your top 5?
No, it is not in my top. It's in my top 5 worst films of the year. Or least favorite.
Okay.
God damn it!
Look, I feel like sometimes I feel like a bit of a Scrooge, and I did check myself after I was ranting about this film, thinking, well, maybe it's not for me. That's fine, but you know, Wonka wasn't for me, and that's a really good film. I really enjoyed that. I think so. Obviously, I'm a child. I grew up through the 80s and 90s, and I love Super Mario Brothers. And this is a very different era of gaming from what Richard's talking about. So all these things like The Last of Us, they've got very good stories that are written into them that are almost like films. And you're watching the cutscenes, and you know they're very playable, but they've also got these stories. Super Mario was never like that. Super Mario was just a thing where you're jumping about. It's one of the most playable games of all time. It's fantastic. There's been so many variations of it, Mario Kart. So I went in to watch this film. I was really excited. And then it started, and I just realized that this is not really a film. This is just like a collection of Easter eggs and like a checklist that have been put in. I mean, so the plot is basically Plumber needs to get his brother back, if you're looking at it like that. The casting makes no sense. So You've got Chris Pratt and Anna Taylor-Joy, wonderful actors. You know, really loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think Chris Pratt's brilliant. But he's just sort of chosen for this because he's a big name star that they can put on the poster. I did hear someone talking about this, saying I had a bit of a theory that because the 90s film with Bob Hoskins was such a disaster, they were just so scared about taking any risks on this film. And to be honest, taking no risks paid off. It's the second biggest film worldwide this year, although Barbie, which is also an IP, did better, which I'm very pleased about, because it feels like there is some ideas and thoughts in that film. But I think one of the things that really annoyed me in this is, like, I've never questioned all the years playing Mario why the blocks are floating that you jump across, because it's a platform game. But in here, they have to have a line of dialogue of why are the blocks floating? It's like, I haven't cared for 30 years. Why are we doing this? Even the song, I mean, Jack Black is very well cast as Bowser, but even the song, which got into the top 30 over here, called Peaches, which just involves him singing Peaches, 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 Peaches over and over again. It's almost like if there were 3 really funny songs, really funnily written songs in that film, and then the third or fourth one was just Peaches, Peaches, Peaches over and over, you'd kind of go, okay, that's sort of what the joke is. But it does feel like Jack Black has just phoned that in. Like, he's like, I've been hired. I can just get away with saying Peaches over and over again. No one's going to question this because nobody cares.
I like the song. I have to say, I like the song.
It's all right. To be honest, it's the best. I think it's the best thing about the film. But it just feels like there's nothing remotely. Words just define me. I've spoken about it for longer than I can care about. The only thing that I'm quite pleased of is I had to get this out, and I think I wrote in a long thing and ranted it in the group, and then I emailed that to the Commode and Mayo show, and they read it out. So I was quite pleased that my rant got read out on that. But yeah, it just feels like it. Weirdly, I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel, because I don't think they can get away with doing the same thing again, of like having no plot.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
It did very well.
Of course they
It
can.
did phenomenally well. One of the big
And
hits.
it's fine to have things aimed at children, but like, I haven't seen the Paw Patrol movies, but I bet they've got better plots. Like so there was that it felt like, and when you think about the Sonic the Hedgehog films, they're not great films, but at least they kind of made a film using that property. But they sort of turned it into something, whereas this just feels like it is just a collection of Easter eggs. Like you're just watching someone play the game. But do you know what? It's not even in my top 2 least favorite films of the year. So
Oh, wow. Some heavy competition is here. But before we do that,
if people love the film, I'm not gonna hate anybody that loves the film. If you found something you liked about it, good for you. But I was bitterly disappointed by this film.
My niece loved it, so that's the reason why.
How old is she?
Yeah, but and she's like
20.
she was 12. She was 12 when it was released, so it was perfect for her. So yeah.
Jesus.
I think
Well-
it looks pretty like the animation. I haven't watched the film.
Yeah,
actually.
do you know
But
what?
the animation looks from the outside looks so pretty, so nice.
And I think that's probably why it's not one of the. When I was looking at my least favorite films of the year, and Expendables 4 isn't even in the top 3. That's how much I dislike this. But I think the saving grace is the style of animation. Like they haven't messed that up. But I'm kind of like over it. Like 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I might have been impressed by that. But it's like, we know you can do this now. Like in 1991, that wasn't an option. But like 5 years later, after Toy Story, it was. But, it's fine. If kids enjoy it, I'm not going to shout through people's letterboxes that they should turn the film off. It's
Fair
up
enough.
to them.
Not for you then. But
I'm not
did well
upset.
box office wise, so there probably will be a sequel on the way very soon.
Oh, yeah.
So that's from a low, but I think we can go back to a high, as Alfonso mentioned, and Richard, I think, was a big fan, and this is a high, and that was Succession.
Yes.
So, how was it this season?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to talk about Succession without getting any spoilers away. I'm gonna be careful, but
Yeah.
So I think Succession is some people call it one of the best TV show ever made. I don't know, perhaps it's possible. I mean, I understand the arguments. So to sum up what Succession is for anyone who doesn't even know, which is surprising because it's now becoming every year extremely popular. It's kind of like Dallas. I was comparing this with Dallas from the 70s, 80s with my sister when I tried to convince her to watch it because she's a little older than me, so she knew more Dallas than me. In a way that it's a story of a family, and I'd say actually it's more important the family part than anything else. It's a story about a family who is extremely rich. When I say extremely rich, I'm talking about billions of dollars. And the father, who is the founder of a huge company that is perhaps even bigger than Amazon in this world, played by Brian Cox, who is extremely amazing. So much actually that you hate him every time he talks. So that's a good sign. He's the father, and he has 4 children, who are obviously the 4 potential heirs to the throne, let's say. And 3 of them out of 4, literally over the course of 4 seasons, will very nice and always respectfully try to fight each other to become the official heir and to take the place of Brian Cox. That's how I can sum it up. In order of, in my opinion, importance and screen time, you have Kendall as a child. I'm talking about Kendall, played by Jeremy Strong, who is phenomenal, in my opinion. He perhaps is the main character of the story, actually. Jeremy Strong. And when I watched this show, I was thinking, where did I see Jeremy Strong before? And I remember that I watched him in The Big Short, in a supporting role. Actually, now I say that it's not surprising because, if I'm not mistaken, The Big Short is either directed or produced by Adam McKee, who produces also Succession.
Directed, yeah.
Directed, thank you. Then you have his sister, played by Sarah Snook, who's been, I think, also been recognized in Emmys or whatever in the past. But anyway, and the third one. There's a 4th one, but it doesn't really matter. He's just not very important in the story of the firm. But He's there. The third one is played by Kieran Culkin, who played like the youngest of the children, and the youngest one who curse a lot. Like in every single sentence, he curse, and they curse, all of them curse all the time. So I'm sorry if you are scared. I would say maybe it's a R-rated TV show for that reason. But he is the one who's cursed maybe the most. He's extremely also sarcastic, but also actually not very nice to anyone who talks to him. But he's also very insecure kid, maybe one of the, if not the most insecure of the three. And yeah, overall, yeah, there's a lot of business talks, etc., about how the company works and the laws and the high and lows about this company. But the main thing is how the founding father is literally controlling his children and try to use them almost against each other to make sure that first he remains in power, and second that they become, in his opinion, and I insist on his opinion, the best version of themselves. So he makes sure actually that someone actually, when he dies, the one who actually will take over will be the best version of themselves, in his opinion, which means actually kind of like him. That's how I see it. And I would compare this with, in a way, with a king and how he behaves with people around him. And that's how I felt watching this TV show, is that actually you see someone who is one of the most powerful men in the world, literally. There are some scenes where actually you can see that actually the president of the United States is literally almost he needs him, not the other way around, which is crazy. So you have this king, played by Brian Cox, and you have the three children trying anything they can to get closer to the king. And that's actually what real kingdom looked like in the 17th or 16th century. That actually people actually doing crazy things just to have the favors of the king. And that's how it feels like most of the time. And yeah. So yeah, to sum it up, that's how I can say that without any spoilers. That's what Succession is, and why it's amazing is because I kept talking about character developments, because I believe that's the core of a very long story. I think that it's important that a character, when he starts a story at point A and ends a story at point Z, he must have seen different obstacles, and he must have end up being a different person. And that's true for every single character on Succession, not only the main characters that I mentioned, but also supporting characters. It's really well done. The writing is perfect. The cast is, for each one of them, is doing an amazing job, even when they are not in front of the screen. Let's say in the back, they are always delivering. To finish on a note about this special season that ends the show, because the show is finally has ended with the season 4. The season 4 was the perfect conclusion, in my opinion.
Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.
Yeah. Almost. I know it's divisive for some people, the last 30 minutes of the show, but I think it's perfect conclusion. And I think it's episodes 5 or 6. As I said, I won't get to spoilers, but it's an episode about a wedding. For anyone who's listening and is going to watch this, this is perhaps one of the best episodes of any TV show I've ever seen in my life, because of the acting of the cast. So I will leave it this way, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Yes. Did anyone else see Succession? James, did you, or
I have.
see
I've binged season 1, and the other seasons are on my watch list. Was this the 4th and final season? Is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah,
Fourth
this
and
is the
final.
ending.
So, yeah.
It has
But
already ended.
I thought it's just got that classic. It was interesting actually, sort of Richard, the way you were framing that with like getting close to the king and things. But I mean, it just strikes me as one of those things where it's that thing of money's great, but money doesn't actually buy you happiness. And actually, in this instance, whereas usually your family would be there to back you up, I think this is something that I notice in a lot of particularly music biopics as well, is when you're successful, suddenly your family aren't people that you can rely on anymore because they just see you as money or a commodity. And there's that kind of element with this. So I thought it was, very watchable, and kind of makes you pleased not to have I spend a lot of time wishing I had more money, and you watch this and go, I'm all right with the money I've got, thank you.
It's not only about money. It's that this father, which I think they are reportedly based, more or less, on the Rupert Murdoch family, because there's a media empire, and this father has severely deprived their children of affection in different ways, and they have been neglected. In a sense, the relationship of the father with them is something that has caused them to grow up with different lackings of things that they have. All of them have a relationship with their father that is not completely healed, or not healed at all. And although they progress through the seasons, you feel that thing that their father is always pulling the strings, as Richard said, but because he never surrenders his affection to any of them without any kind of counter thing of he always plays them. And it's something that I don't know if it has to do so much with money and power. Well, I mean, with power, of course, but not so. I don't know if with money. This a very severely low quality father, I would say, is not his has mixed it all, and he has created this kind of game of succession for his children. And it's he just feelings or normal fatherhood of what we consider modern fatherhood is nothing that he cares about. He has you see his children, the 4 children, and the show does a very good job of showing how it has affected each one of them, how each one of them has requires not only to be the heir of the company, but how it also that gives them being the loved one of the father. And it's always that's why you see these adults having these kind of children behaviors sometimes of children who are still waiting for that father to love them, and so for them to the father loves the company above all things. So it's very difficult for them to disentangle one thing from the other, because they want to be loved as much as they want to be ruling the company. Sometimes it's understandable, I guess.
Yeah, it's true.
Thanks. Well, that was probably quite a heavy recommendation from everyone there for Succession support. Of course, there was some other highlights in the cinema. Of course, there was another theme of family running strong in another franchise. And it's probably a low light, maybe, but maybe it was, of course, we had Fast and Furious latest entry, another theme of family which is strong in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is
A
one of
much,
the highlights, strangely enough, Richard.
it is a much healthier family relationship than Succession.
Yeah, that's
That is true. That
that's a
is
good point. That's a
100%
very
true.
good point. Good point for Alfonso. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, at least, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think this has had a bit of a roller coaster in its own series of entries. It's had some kind of highs over the last, God knows how long it's been going on, but 10, 20 years, who knows? But 5, 6 probably highlight, and this one is it's I don't know. You can take it or leave it. It's a very I think there is going to be a next 22 years. Yeah, I think someone just mentioned. So it is. We've got one more entry. I'm sure. Next one in the next couple of years. Who knows? But yeah, definitely one of your low lights. But just a reminder, there is has some other actually family themed central. Well, there was a family horror one, I think, which I've got to mention here, which was a bit of a highlight for me, a bit of a quieter, smaller title, and that was Megan or Megan, I think. That came out quite early in the year. That's listed as one of your highlights. One of you guys, James.
Yeah, it was Megan.
I think it was
Yeah.
Alfonso, but I did like it.
Yeah, I thought it was Megan was one of my highlights. I like how mischievous it is with it's one of those movies that takes a concept of something very innocent like a doll and mixes it with something very modern and kind of dark in this movie as AI. I think it was a very intelligent, playful little film that made a lot of money because the concept was strong of that mixture of those two things. A doll that has all these skills of AI and tries to take her sense of being, what they have told her that she has to do, that is to love this kid overall. She takes it to the stream and kind of justifies her own existence by making this her only purpose of living, but it affects everyone else dangerously. And it was just I mean, I enjoy this kind of movies with a mischievous kind of side to them, like May, December, or Saltburn, or those films that are just, they know that they are being kind of nasty or like in a sense, but they tell you that they are kind of playing with it. They are not taking themselves too seriously, in a sense. So it makes it always a little bit more entertaining. And in the sense of, in the case of Megan, I thought it was well played. I thought it was a script well played. I thought it was fun. It had horror elements, but not too overdone. It had jokes. It had a core of like sentimental, I mean, like feelings. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely a lot of strengths in his online presence and social media clips. Definitely of the Megan dance, that was quite a hot property. Again, a lot of these films get their word of mouth, a little clip, and then it kind of like just catches fire. Certainly, this was one of them, and actually, it did deliver on those really watchable clips and a great soundtrack to it as well. I should check it out. Right. Well, you did mention May, December, and that was one of your highlights, Alfonso. Did you see it?
May, December? I think it's very interesting because it's like I think in the script it could have been a good drama just by reading the script, maybe, because when I watched it, I was like, why Todd Haynes is doing these things? He has taken a normal, well, the drama, the script, the point of views, it has different characters, and it gives all their points of view as a moment to shine. So the actors are also very well rewarded. It asks a lot of the actors, but it also rewards them with having good moments of dialogue. Each actor, even the most supporting ones, have very interesting moments when they reveal their point of view or what they know of the main story, which is this woman who seduced this 13-year-old kid and went to prison for it. But after that, they became a couple and have a family when the movie starts. And their kids are about to graduate high school. So that's when the movie begins. And there's an actress from a TV show that is not like one of these HBO TV shows, but like a regular TV show that wants to go into cinema and wants to play this woman who seduced this kid. So that's Natalie Portman trying to go into this family, which is Julianne Moore and Charles Melton playing the nowadays versions of this couple that now are like, I don't know, 50 something and 30 and 30 something, and wants to learn about this woman to play her in the movie that this actress is going to play, and it kind of revolutionizes the whole dynamic of the family. But at the same time, when you see how Todd Haynes, the director, is doing the music very, very expressively, very loudly for what the kind of story that it is, you kind of feel like, and the way that the Natalie Portman character is treating this story as a, let's say, she's at the same time interested, she has a deep psychology, but at the same time superfluous, more Hollywood-like behavior. And I thought it was like two movies at the same time, where one more, that's why people don't know if this movie is camp or comedy drama, melodrama or something like that. But I don't know, I thought if you put a good drama and on top of that you add more like playful touches, I thought it was just more entertaining. At some point I was like, you're going too far, but I'm just entertained. So I thought it added, but just with a good drama, it would have been a good film. But just it went a little bit further.
Yeah, it's a bit on limited release, I think, everywhere else. I think it'll reach us maybe next year. And I think in the UK, it's on Sky Cinema.
For some reason, because it makes no sense again, that thing was actually selected for a Cannes Festival back in May 2023, and they waited almost a year to release it in movie theaters in France. But anyway.
It has been in some cinemas in the UK, but very limited, so not near me, but it's been in sort of other towns and stuff. And it wasn't really on my radar. And in fact, I kept confusing it with the film Eileen as well. And then once I heard the word of mouth on it and a few people had seen it, I was like, I really want to watch this. And everywhere in the world, it's on Netflix, I think, apart from the UK, it's on Sky Cinema, which I don't have. And I'm kind of waiting for like a New Year January deal for £1 just to get Sky Cinema to watch it, because everything that I've heard about it is meant to be very good.
It's one of the most demanding roles that Natalie Portman has ever done, it's very demanding of the three actors but I think they get to show good performances as well.
Yes, kind of across the board. Yeah, but definitely worth a catch, I think, whenever it reaches you, wherever you are.
Yeah.
I think another title that actually film that I think generally all of us who'd seen it actually did enjoy, and I was wondering if it was in your top 5 or whatever. But we did speak about it recently, and that was Anatomy of a Fall. Just quickly, we did talk about this recently, but is that one of your highlights of the year, or did it get pushed out by other titles? Richard, you love this, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I was laughing of a comment from James. But, yeah. Well, I think I've already recommended 1,000 times, and I keep recommend this movie, Anatomy of a Fall. Not because it's French, but just because it's a good movie. Maybe because it's French, but at least, yeah, sometimes we do actually create good stuff. So it's and especially actually a movie that actually is known abroad. It doesn't happen quite often, but we export good movies. No, it's it's a really well done movie. We're discussing that with James to say that it's a courtroom drama, so let's call it this way. Nothing more, not to spoil anything. Cultural drama, family drama. Let's not spoil it to say actually, but there is someone who dies in the first 5 minutes, and then that's it. For 2 hours and a half, you're on a ride in some kind of murder mystery, with the focus would be the main the main actress, the main female character. I don't think we should talk more about me before. I mean,
well, I think we can say who dies.
But it's just that actually, but we talked about this, and I talked about this personally so many times, and I think it's gonna be. He's already starting actually to get a lot of rewards in the European continent, and I'm pretty sure that he will do even at least as good as he did in the European continent in American continent, hopefully at the Oscars. And that's all I can hope, especially I was checking her name, especially for Sandra Hüller, who is playing the main character. Let's hope actually that she gets an Oscar for what she's done. I think she completely deserves it. I don't know if they're going to get anything else, because I also mentioned actually that it's not nominated as an international film feature, unfortunately. But if he can get a couple of Oscars or Golden Globe or whatever, so it gets known around the world, that would be amazing, to be honest.
She will be probably nominated because it has been a big success, and as you say, it won a European Film of the Year.
Yeah.
And I also would like to highlight the character of her son, played by Milo Machado, because it's like he's this kind of supporting character, but almost protagonist. The movie focuses more on her, but it's as much as his movie as it is hers in a way. He's there having some of the most emotional scenes. He has even, I would argue, he has even a bigger conflict than she has throughout the movie.
Yes, that's true.
And is Sandra Hüller is a very good actress, and it's the thing about Sandra Hüller is that she refuses to overplay any of those moments, and it's a very interesting and bold choice. I think that goes with the actress and also with the character. It doesn't give you an advantage for awards, but they awards have recognized her. I don't know how far it will take her in the Oscars. I think it will take her to a nomination at least. And it's an interesting character to play like that, like not over sentimental. She holds her position and just is there, and that's why also contributes to the suspicion of everyone. Like, is she a killer? Is she not a killer?
Yeah. And the fact actually that she is, like you said, not overacting, whatever, is I think by doing that you almost forget that you are watching an actress playing a role, in my opinion. Anyway. And that's actually the best compliment I always give to actors and actresses. Is actually sometimes you're actually watching someone who is standing trial, and that's it. That's what you're watching. You're not watching a movie at some point, and that's the best thing you can say. Also,
it gives the European kind of flavor. It's not like the Hollywood style of like, oh my god, da, 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 da. said this kind of like, yeah, okay, let's answer these questions. I will try to be my best self, but I'm a real woman, not a not one of these Hollywood characters. I am a European woman living in I don't know where they live, in the Swiss or some kind of snowy mountains. And oh yeah, well, it's some kind in France, because the movie discusses that. And it felt very real. Yeah, she say because there are sometimes when you are a fan of a genre, like for example this kind of murder plus trial and see who was the killer, or yes or no, or how it went down, or whatever it happened. You're very used with television because it's a very popular genre, and I think this kind of touches just give you the flavor of being something different, the way of they act, the way things happen, that made it special for me too.
Okay, thanks. Definitely favorite here.
Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.
Thanks for that. So James, you've one of your highlights you actually picked up. Come to you now. You've picked a few more low scale, more under the radar for me a bit, but actually highly recommended by you. First one is Past Lives, which I think is getting some traction. James, why is that? Did not reach highlights of the year? What?
So, I mean, my top 10 actually does have some really well-known things, but probably the top 3 are all slightly under the radar. But I think Past Lives, it is getting some traction. So it's a drama directed by Celine Song, and it's her first film. Set over 24 years, it's about 2 childhood sweethearts who lived in South Korea. And when the girl's parents immigrate to America, they lose contact. 12 years later, the boy tracks the girl Nora down on Facebook, and they begin talking and reconnecting sort of in their 20s. They then lose contact again, and then he eventually goes to meet her in the US another 12 years later, when she's married to an American, a Jewish American writer. So sort of like Moonlight, it's set over quite a long period of time. It's the same actors when they're in their 20s and I suppose early 40s. And I think it's just a very well observed drama. It sort of feels very truthful. The acting is superb, particularly Greta Lee, who plays Nora in her 20s and in her 40s. And I think she really sort of carries the majority of the film. I think often the Oscars don't go for people who are sort of new in the best actress role. Sometimes it's people that they will nominate who've been around for years, but I think she's really fantastic in it. The script is really good. Apparently it is based on a lot of Celine Song's own experiences, and it kind of deals with this idea of Inyan. And Inyan is the belief that the interactions between 2 people in this life are owed to their interactions in their past lives, hence the title. So it's the idea that they may have connected in previous existences, but then this goes to her childhood sweetheart and her husband now. Have they interacted in the past, and is there something going on there? It's got wonderful cinematography. It's a very sort of quiet film in a way. There's a song called Quiet Eyes by Sharon Von Etten at the end that plays over the credits, which is a really great song. Apparently the script, much like Martin McDonagh, who wrote The Banshees of Inisherin, Celine Song says that she does not change a word of the script, so she doesn't let the actors improvise at all. It's like everything is on the page, and she's got an exact idea of how she wants this story to go. And that's what you see in the film. And I think it's one of those films where I spent the whole film thinking, I hope when we get to the end of this, they don't they go for the more truthful ending. I'll just say that. I hope they go for the more truthful ending, not the kind of sensationalist ending or whatever. And then they did that. I got my wish, and I was like, no, I want it to be the other way because it's got a real kind of stealth ending. But even I had heard people talk about this, but when it really has an emotional punch, the ending, and it kind of sort of comes out of nowhere, but sort of doesn't. But I think it's just a very, very good drama, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I just got like someone was saying about a film earlier. I completely believe the characters, like we were saying about Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. I didn't really feel like I was watching a film. I felt like I was watching three people's lives over 24 years, and I think it's a really good movie.
Totally, I agree completely. I think it's the movie that is closest to reality that I've seen the whole year. And I think that's why so many people all over the world are connecting with it, because it feels so real, so close to what happens in your life, in so many people's lives. It is not an ambitious film in a sense, but it builds up and builds up and builds up, and it packs a punch in the end. There are three characters that are very attuned to their feelings, in a sense, but it really, really, without it being very complex or something, but what it wants to do, it does it extremely well.
And Celine Song has actually said that this is kind of based around her real life, which I think must be quite awkward for the people who presumably know who they are represented in the film. But yeah, it does just feel very, very truthful, doesn't it? Like it deals with sort of emotional stuff. And there's a few funny lines in it. There's a line when she talks to her husband about connecting with this childhood sweetheart or childhood friend, it is really. And saying that she gives this long speech about how Korean she feels when she speaks to this guy from Korea. And it kind of goes on for so long that it's very funny. But it just feels completely grounded in reality. Yeah.
And thanks, James. You also have
just saying one thing is that actually, but I didn't know anything about this movie until now. I don't know why. Actually, I didn't even notice actually that he was nominated for everything. Literally, apparently,
yeah.
He
will be nominated for best movie at the Oscars. Most
Golden
probably.
Globes. I'm reading best motion picture drama, best picture in English language, best director, best screenplay, best actress in a drama. Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm going to watch it this weekend. Just saying,
I'm always worried though. I didn't really realize that. Like I'm always worried when that happens because then there's a lot of expectation. But I think I saw this quite early on. I'd just seen a trailer and I thought, oh, that looks interesting, and went to see it. And it completely, it just completely engaged me, and I kind of felt sucked into the world by the end of it. So I thought,
don't feel overhyped, Richard, because it is a movie that doesn't benefit at all from hype, because it doesn't. If you're expecting a lot, it will maybe underwhelm you because it's I don't know how to say it, but it's not.
We're basically saying we don't want you to be surprised when Vin Diesel turns up and punches someone at the end.
Yeah. We have spoiled a big twist, but sometimes
let's not use the double F word in this podcast, which is Fast and Furious and family. I guess there's a triple threat. Well, thanks. There was a couple of other titles you just quickly wanted to mention that was on your.
Yeah, so Rye Lane. I think this year's been a really good year for comedies. We've mentioned Barbie, Bottoms, Joyride, Theatre Camp, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, No Hard Feelings, Cocaine Bear, Some Other Hood, maybe even Saltburn. There's been some really good comedies. I think this is my favourite out of the lot just on how laugh out loud it is. Directed by Rain Alan Miller, and it's another female directorial debut. And it's set in Peckham, stars David Johnson and Vivia Opara as Dom and Yaz. Basically, she discovers him in gender-neutral toilets at the start, crying over a breakup. He's been dumped by his best friend. She's left him and gone off with his best friend, who is not the cleverest of guys, shall we say. He's very obsessed with how big his arms are. and there's not too much going on upstairs.
Mhm.
She's been dumped by her boyfriend, but he's still got her copy of A Tribe Called Quest's Low End Theory, classic hip hop album from 1992 on vinyl, and she wants to get it back, and she wants that copy. And they kind of go around London for the day together, trying to sort of get even with their exes or get revenge or just have one-upmanship to an extent. And yeah, it's just a very funny, sweet film. It's under 90 minutes, I think. And it's got a really sharp script. I think Vivian O'Para is really, really great. I mean, David Johnson is as well, but I think she kind of steals the show. There's a really funny scene at a family house party with EastEnders Gary Beadle and the Real McCoys, Luella Gideon, if you remember that show from the 90s. And Taskmaster's Munya Chawar also turns up in a cameo. There is another cameo which people constantly spoil. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it's very funny when it happens, and it's sort of a joke in of itself. But if you like that kind of quirky British humor of sort of sex education and things, I think you'll probably like this, and it's on Disney Plus at the moment. But
Nice.
nobody else has seen it apart from me, right?
I mean, it's on many people's best of 2023.
Oh, really?
So
Oh, good.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just a good film. Yeah.
Right. Well, you did mention sex education there. I think it had its final season
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
this year. Richard, this tended bit of a low light for you, considering quite
Yeah,
highs that you've praised this series before. What did you think of
yeah,
this
exactly.
concluding?
Yeah, in previous podcasts, etc., in the last few years, I've been saying several times that I love this show. I thought actually that the first couple of seasons were perhaps the best thing I've seen in the coming of age genre. Honestly, I think it was explaining issues that a lot of teenagers are going through. It was explaining, but not like it's like show don't tell and not the other way around. It was very well done. The stories of the three main characters were very interesting in the first couple of seasons. Each one of them has a different path, but also what connects them, what makes them different from one to another. The message overall of the show, the open-mindedness, the tolerance, and I said, understanding puberty, literally, that is not something to be afraid of, but just to accept. And no, it's a really well done show as it for the first few seasons. In my opinion, unfortunately, since the last few episodes of season 3, especially season 4, there's definitely they're dropping the ball. I was saying because I think that I don't know if there is like a problem between the creator and Netflix on how to sort out the ending of the show. It does happen quite often when a studio and the writer creator actually don't agree on when and how to end a TV show. And I think it shows definitely that this show should have ended at the end of the first season. There was the perfect way to end all story arcs, and they didn't. For some reason, they created out of nowhere cliffhangers. And obviously, they were kind of, at the beginning of this season, they were kind of in a very difficult situation. One, because these cliffhangers kind of made no sense. And also, because a lot of actors and actresses of the main cast didn't want to have anything to do with sex education anymore. Let's face it. Especially the two out of three main actors. So yeah, and the main problem of the show overall, as seasons were coming every couple of years, is that actually they were having a cast of 1,000 names. I mean, at first it was like 5-6 names, and then you have 10 names, and then in the season 4 you have, I don't know, 20 main characters or something like that. And obviously you cannot give screen time for everyone, and that definitely showed. Yes, a lot of issues in this season 4. Out of all of this, there's some good news. we were talking about this. James is a big fan of Doctor Who. We were saying actually that and Ncuti Gatwa, is that his name? Is one of the three main actors and playing one of the main characters is the new Doctor Who, and good for him. I mean, he's an amazing actor. His character arc was probably my main interest in season 4. This show was very good for the first few seasons, and he had great potentials, and I recommend it, but expect to be disappointed by the ending.
Okay, well, it's a shame, but that's a good segue. Speaking out of a breakout role, Ncuti Gatwa, of course, did make his appearance as Doctor Who this year also. James, you watched his debut Soul episode, I guess, which was a Christmas special and the lead up to it. How did he perform as our new Doctor? A highlight or a low light for you?
Yeah, very, very much a highlight. I've really enjoyed the 3 specials and the Christmas special. Quite a way to series 1 or the first full series, but in May, sure it'll fly by. So I've watched a lot of series 1 of Sex Education, but not late series, and it's just something I haven't got around to. I really liked him as Eric in Sex Education, but to be honest, when that casting was announced, I've always learned to be a little bit skeptical because you don't really know until you see them as the Doctor. I think whichever actor it is, you never really know if it's gonna work or not. And I knew he wasn't going to do it as Eric. I knew it was going to be something else, and that's the only thing I've really seen him in, or the only thing I'd seen him in prior. And when he makes an appearance in the final 60th special, within 3 lines of dialogue, I believe that he's the Doctor. He has this air of authority to him. He sort of owns the presence he has is sort of like really commanding. He owns the scene. But just having that moustache makes him seem so much older and wiser than Eric. And then you get to this Christmas special, and I think, as with all of Russell T Davies's Doctor Who, the most important thing almost is the chemistry between the 2 leads. And here you've got Millie Gibson, who is an actress from Coronation Street I wasn't familiar with. And the chemistry between her and Ncuti Gatwa, straight away, you kind of believe. There's always this thing in Doctor Who, I think, when it works, when they're sort of almost like a couple, but they're not. And his first scene is him, because Ncuti Gatwa's Scottish or part Scottish. He's dancing in a kilt to a drum and bass song, and she just looks in awe of him. And there's just this really nice little bonding thing at the start, and it's got sort of like a cheekiness to it. I think the Christmas special, that it's got these goblins in. It bursts into song just for a few moments. It sort of becomes a musical, and I was aware when he did it. I was like, "This is a bit weird, but it's fine. It kind of worked."
It
and
was like
odd.
that movie of Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie, Labyrinth.
Labyrinth, yeah, that's a good point. And I think that the Christmas specials have always got a slightly different tone. They haven't done them for a few years either, but they've always got a slightly different tone to the rest of the series. I mean, actually, every episode of the series often has a different tone. But the fact that they could do that, and I did see in the making of it, though, saying if that was the Daleks and it burst into song, that would be weird. But it kind of works because it's already kind of a really odd sort of heightened reality. But I think it really mixed the domestic with the alien stuff quite well. So Ruby Sunday, the character played by Millie Gibson, has been left at an orphanage or left at a church when she was a baby. And Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor has seen the mother walk off. We don't know the identity of the mother or if we're going to revisit that at this point. But I feel like we're going to it maybe at the end of season 1, or maybe that's going to be her whole character arc. But I think it's worked really well. It's made me quite excited for the new series of Doctor Who. And I like it when you've got that smaller TARDIS team of just the 2 people. But yeah, I'm on board for it.
Thanks. Okay then. Right, as we're in a science fiction genre or field, I think and also another series on Disney Plus which came to an end. I hope it did. I'm sure it did. This was actually Loki, which second season, and I think came to a very good conclusion. Richard, I think this was actually one of your highlights. Loki season 2.
So this is going to be much more shorter review because I don't want to spoil anything. And to be fair, I wanted to mention Loki only for the 2 last episodes because have to admit it, but actually the second season is not perfect. Far from it. The first season was much better. It was much consistent, and every episode was amazing. The second season has a very, what's the word, convoluted plot. Is that it? A very complicated story to follow in the first few episodes, and I almost gave up. And then I was about to say the 2-part series finale, but especially the series finale gave me hope again in the, in the superhero genre almost. Yeah, no, I'm gonna repeat myself. It's kind of the same reason why I like it. It's kind of the same reason why I like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, is the fact that the guy who created the Loki TV show kind of knew what he was doing, apparently, knew the character, knew understand where he was coming from, almost more than 10 years ago, and how to create a real story arc with beginning, a middle, and an end. I know it sounds pretty dumb to say that, but again, it's something that Disney has forgotten. And but yeah, it was good to see the character of Loki that we met first as this evil brother of Thor, as I said, 12 years ago, and going through so much. And now he's not only he's not only has only became a real villain for the whole Avengers, but also went through a lot of stuff on a personal level, and in somehow that season, the end of the second season, the end of hopefully Loki TV show, kind of combine the two, kind of combine the end of his personal path and also of his bigger destiny, let's say, in the MCU. We'll not go again into spoilers, but yeah, I mean, Loki, in the end, when you think about it, in the last few years, has been perhaps the most important TV show of the MCU in regards to the consequences of what happens in this TV show, on consequences on other projects or on other storylines. That was at least the idea. I'm not sure, but Disney hasn't forgotten about that. But yeah, it is definitely for me the base of the whole MCU, this TV show, in terms of quality and in terms of what happens in there. Again, I'm trying to think if I can say more without going to spoilers.
I think Loki's been a important glue in the MCU, as in trying to pull all these threads of narrative or over arc into some kind of cohesive whole. So it had a lot of load bearing to do, this series, and but it does end in a very good place. One of the best endings for a character, as you mentioned before, a beginning, middle, and end. And I think this has definitely served its purpose. So as you said, I would agree with you. It's probably worth watching the whole thing just to see the last 2 episodes, because it's magnificently done. Strange as it is, it's watch both seasons for what comes at the end. But that wasn't the only Marvel series on Disney. I think another one made its debut. That was Secret Invasion. This is Samuel Jackson again as Nick Fury, again picking up a character and his arc in a TV series of his own. Now, what did you think of this one, Richard? Because you saw this. And
Can I just say, Richard, it's a shame, podcast listeners, because Richard's review is just his face at the moment. Says everything I need to know, but he's now going to express that in verbal form.
Yeah,
and I can't wait.
I'm going to try. Yeah.
So, yep, lots of. I suspect this was a low light for many people, and including you.
I think it was a low light for everyone, to be honest.
Yes.
So Secret Invasion. What can I say about Secret Invasion? The opening credits is really good. I mean, that was the main thing about this thing. I mean, it was amazing visually.
And they were kind of like there was a because they were made by AI, so the people
Really?
were
Okay.
they were critical of them.
But I mean, the TV show itself, it doesn't matter if you know the story from the comics or not. Well, yes, in a way, yes, you do, because I know I read the graphic novel, and obviously it's very different from the graphic novel, but that's fine. I mean, you can do whatever you want in adaptation. It doesn't have to be loyal to the source material, but it's just, yeah, there's so many things that went wrong in this show. That's crazy. It makes no sense whatsoever within the MCU as well. I don't know where to start, to be honest.
Well, it's a tricky one because it seems quite we're veering back into the spy thriller and a lot of strengths. Certainly, if you saw Civil War, essentially Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson, of course, leads this series. It is a very
But he's tired.
promising start, and of course, it has a great pedigree from the comics because it's actually quite a long-running miniseries. Basically, it is a kind of like who could be a secret scroll.
They didn't do it right. I mean, yeah, that was the point of the graphic novel, that actually, but to be like, it's kind of fun for the reader back then to wonder, wow, one of my hero actually has been actually the villain all this time. What's great. But unfortunately for them, at the moment when this TV show was released, they didn't have many big names left in the MCU. And also they didn't have many big names want to sign up to be part of the Secret Invasion TV show. So in the end, the reveals of some of the names, I will not get into spoilers for whoever wants to watch this thing one day, the big reveals of basically like one maybe or two who actually are characters who have been around for a very long time, who actually was Skrulls all this time. Actually, I couldn't care less. Seriously. It doesn't make sense again that there was Skrulls back in the day, by the way, these characters. And there was so much potential, but maybe that's the reason why I put it in my lowlights. There was so much potential in this show because they were talking about real issues. They could have actually done something a bit like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, when actually they used a superhero story and talk about real stuff in the real world. Here, in that case, I mean, that's crazy. They were trying to talk about immigration and about people coming from literally another planet, in that case, living on Earth, and will we accept them, etc. And do we have to find them another place to live, or can they live with us, etc. Obviously, you just have to watch 5 seconds of politics of any country in the world right now, and you will see how relevant this storyline is. And they didn't do it justice, in my opinion. They didn't do a good job at all, because they tried at some point at the beginning, and then it went all action movie, superhero, superpowers, all the BS that actually you can see in any superhero TV show and movie, and they completely forgot about what mattered, in my opinion. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but there is one character who got super, super, super powerful in this show, and it makes absolutely no sense but this character even exists. Because if she exists from now on, then I mean the MCU should end tomorrow or should be rewritten. I don't know. I mean, that makes no sense. I mean, yeah. And I think, I don't know if it's at the very, very end, the last 5 minutes, but actually you have some scene about, again, trying to avoid spoilers, but there's a 5-minute scene at the end of the show about the acceptation, about integration of in that case, aliens, but immigrants in the real world, but aliens, and how actually people might react when they found out actually that they too many immigrants in the country, or people actually extremists who actually react like that. And again, there was so much you could have done better than just a 5-minute scene that will have no consequence and no follow-up.
I think it's a disservice to all the crews that are living in our society. I mean, we are once they reveal to ourselves once we know all the crews that we have been living with, they will say that it was not a very good series representation.
Should we tell Richard now that the three of us are Krolls?
No,
Exactly.
no,
All this
wait
time.
until the end. Wait until the end.
Yeah, but it is. It is. But you're right, Richard. I think it did fumble. I think a lot of promising things, but a very disappointing ending. I mean, conversely to Loki, ironically now, a great. I mean, it just did go rely on endings that were very cliche and so over the top that it just negated everything that was done before. But and very odd solutions and motivations in them Skrulls trying to have a place for themselves, but at the expense of the entire planet. It was a bit silly. A shame. So yeah, deservedly, definitely a low line.
Yeah.
Catch part 2 of this Film and TV 2023 review special. Available at filmandtvreview.com, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, and other podcast providers. We hope you enjoyed this Film and TVReview.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our Film and TV Review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.